who am I? Some of you may have seen me here. This is my third time at HUSTEF. Who is enjoying being at HUSTEF? Yeah. Sorry, must be something wrong with my hearing. Who is enjoying being at HUSTEF? Yes. Perfect. This is a really great conference. We get looked after so well as speakers and as attendees. And we've had a bit of fun. I want to bring a little bit of seriousness in because I want to talk to you about stress today. I haven't always been as extrovert as you're seeing me now. This is me with a persona, because inside I'm an introvert going, oh no. So a bit about me is I've been in testing for over 30 years. I would tell you exactly how many years if you get me on beers later. I'm Senior QE Manager at EasyJet. If you've ever been on an EasyJet plane and you've been delayed, I'm sorry, it is not my fault. I speak at conferences like this. I've guested on the Testing Peers podcast. I occasionally blog. If you do check, you might find there was one there for a couple of weeks and then a bit of a gap because I forget. I'm on LinkedIn, and I love radio. If you like music, I do a weekly radio show. We've got people who are runners. We've got people who hang upside down, who do all sorts of things. My passion's radio. I love doing it. If you want to have a chat about that, you can do. So today, we are going to talk about what triggers bad stress responses in us as humans at work, how we respond, how to recognize the things that trigger us. I think that's really important. Sometimes we don't take the time to recognize our triggers. You might find that a bit weird. Stress can be good. Yep, I'll tell you why. How you can practice care for yourself, and also, it isn't moving. How you can help other people. We don't need to be selfish, we need to help others. And if you were in Chris Armstrong's talk earlier on, he did talk about looking out for others and helping others. It's almost as if the people putting this together had put all of the talks in order, so they matched up. Who knew? And I've got some resources for you as well. So, when I was thinking about this, the kind of things that trigger the responses that we have, I thought there are some categories. And the first one I think is like fear. So you might have a fear of flying. You might not like spiders or snakes, crocodiles, but those kind of things will trigger a certain type of response because it's life or death. Or it might be heights or something. And what I call emotional turmoil. I'm not suggesting that getting married is bad, but you know, I remember when I was getting married, I was also moving house and relocating, all in the space of 3 months, and my God, my stress levels went up, and I lost a lot of weight. I used to be very skinny. I know it's hard to believe, but I was. But things like divorce, having children, you know, when they're babies, and you look at them and you go, what the heck now? And you feel stressed. And a bereavement, you know, that's one of the top things there. At work. You know that euphoria when you get a new job? Who remembers that? You get a new job and you're like, yes! How quickly does that get followed by, oh my God, what have I got to do? What are they going to expect of me? We put that stresses on. Getting a promotion, they're going to want more out of me. Your co-workers could be pains in the bottom. Your boss could be a micromanager. You could have deadlines or sad lines. Workplace bullying, very sadly, is still a thing. It's still commonplace, and that builds up stress. Redundancies. I've had 2 redundancies in my career, and you know what? I'm thankful for both of them for different reasons. The first one I helped to engineer. I'd been in a company 12 years, took the opportunity to kind of push for it, and came away thinking, very nice. The second one crept up on me, and I didn't know it was going to happen. But because I'd had one previously, I knew what to do with it. And secondly, I looked at it that I thought, you know what, if I ever speak to anyone else who's going through redundancy, I'll know what they're going through, and I can empathize. More about learning later. What about health? You worry about your health, your children, partner, parents, pets, whoever. House moves. Anybody going through a house move at the moment? There's a few of you. How stressful is that? Trying to line up everything. That's in the top 3. And just life. You worry about your finances. But they're talking about like ISTQB exams and stuff. And there's a couple of people that spoke to me and said, oh, I was asked to do an ISTQB after being in testing for a long time. Yeah, anyone else? Yeah. How did you find that? Was that stressful or was that stress-free? No, because it's a test. And you worry about, oh my, what if I fail? I've been in testing for years. Does this mean I suck at it? We worry. We try and juggle too many things, and life it lets you kind of sometimes feel that you've got a complete lack of control over your own time. So all of these things, and this is just scratching the surface, but these are the kind of things that can trigger those responses. So when we're at work, what do? When something triggers our stresses, we worry, of course, because we care about our jobs. We might panic because it's, oh my God, the deadline was yesterday, and I've just been told about it, but I wasn't there. I was at HUSTEF, I didn't know. What am I going to do? We make kind of really crazy illogical decisions. The sort of things that if you had, 3 weeks to make a decision, you'd be like, okay, I'll mull it over. You make a quick decision like that and it's illogical. If I do this, they do that, and they do that, it'll magically work because you're panicked into it. And of course, we all do this, don't we? We've got loads to do. What should we do? Let's work longer. Yes. And we drink more coffee. Other stimulants are available because we need to stay awake. Food is for wimps. Who the heck needs lunch? I've got work to do. Exercise, got time for that. I need to crack on with this report. And I need more hours in the day. Do you know where I'm going to get those hours from? An hour in the morning, hour in the evening. Who needs sleep? So we do all these things, but what it ends up doing is affecting the quality of our life. Now, if our life isn't going very well, our work can't be any better, can it? And it sounds really obvious, but we fall into those traps. This is a brilliant picture. I've decided I want to look on Amazon for one of these. I want a button to screw into my desk so that when someone really pees me off, I'm just going to go bang and hit it. Because I think it would be quite therapeutic. But in all seriousness, there are things that will trigger those responses in us. Do you know what they are in you? Interestingly, we will all react differently to the same thing because it depends on lots of factors. But also, if I asked you something on a Friday afternoon, when you're just about to knock off for the weekend, you might go, yeah, I'll leave it to Monday. If I asked you the same thing on a Monday morning when you've just looked at your calendar and you've got 37 emails and 14 meetings, you might respond a little differently to me. Depends on the mood, depends on the health. Did you wake up in the morning, fall out of bed, kick the cat, and then your coffee spilt all down your shirt? You're going to be in a bad mood. Did you have to stand on the tram? Did you get wet because you've got your brolly? I don't know, but all these factors, things will affect how you feel on that day. You have a great journey into work because you cycled in, no one got in your way, you're in first, the showers were free, coffee was ready for you. Oh, great, I'll face any challenge. So there's so many factors that influence how we respond to bad things. But knowing what your triggers are will help you. So rather than you being caught out by things, you can get ahead of them. Now, I did say earlier on some stress can be good. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't want anyone going home and going, this dude from HUSTEF, he said this, medically trained. I'm not. It's just from common sense and research. And I found out it is true, a certain amount of stress can be motivational. It can help you get there. My son finished university a couple of years ago, and he said to me, I was pulling an all-nighter to get this done. I said, why? Was the deadline late? He said, no, I did it 3 weeks ago. So what do you leave it to the last minute for? He said, because if I don't have that stress of a deadline, I'm just not going to do it. So he needed that stress to drive him forward. Some of us need that. It's good for your cognitive function. I mean, imagine if we all went through life and there were no problems. Every time I pressed a button, the slides just worked. The microphones never tripped out. Everything was perfect. What would I learn from that? I wouldn't know how to deal with issues. We build resilience. And resilience was a word that came up yesterday, I believe, in Alex's keynote. See how this is all tied together? You thought this was by accident. But resilience is really important. As you deal with a situation once, yes, it's difficult, but actually the next time you face something similar, you're drawing on your experience to know how to deal with that in the future. We can't avoid stress. So for me, it's about how we balance, how we react. So I've got a few things for you. I spent ages coming up with some acronyms that worked because the first few were a little dodgy, so I've changed them around a bit. But first thing is having some fun. I don't think we bake enough time into our lives necessarily to do the fun things, and we should. Life isn't about being born, dying there, and having a bloody great battle all the way through. It should be about having some enjoyment, doing things that you love. So put some time into your life to do the things you enjoy. It might be running a marathon. It might be hanging upside down like a bat. It might be doing ballet. It might be doing DJing or radio. Whatever it is that you like doing, go and do it. Have that time. And try things like mindfulness. Has anybody come across mindfulness as a concept? Can I just have a show of hands? Yeah, a number of you. 2 jobs ago, I was lucky to be in a pilot group for something called Mind Mood Mastery by Dr. Barbara Mariposa. Don't worry about writing it down. It will be in the slides. And she came and ran some workshops with us. And it was about sort of the art of breathing, relaxing, and starting your day off with deep breathing exercises. And I managed to do that for about 6 months, which is probably the longest I've ever kept anything going. But every day I would do that, and it really helped. So try to do those breathing exercises. I was tempted, actually, to get all of you to stand up and do some deep breathing. Who's up for that? I'm seeing very few hands, but there's a few. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. If you're able to stand up and you're feeling brave, stand up. Stand up. Right. Let's try something. Thank you. Don't feel you have to, but if you'd like to, join in. I'm not the only one standing up here, which is good. Okay. So what I'd like you to do when I tell you is I'd like you to take a deep breath all the way in, really fill your lungs. When I say, then breathe out, and in your mind just start counting. Get up as far as you can till you really empty all of the air out of your lungs, and then a deep breath back in again. So first of all, breathe in. Breathe out and count. Breathe through your nose. And breathe in again, big breath. And then out again. Now, does anyone feel that their body has started to relax just from 2 breaths? There's 1 or 2. It does take more than 2, but you get the idea. As you do that, you slow your body down. You slow your heart rate down. It's really good for breaking that kind of barrier when you're facing stress. When you start the day, set yourself up. Okay, sit down. Thank you. I've made you do some exercise. That's good. So the C is for checking in. It sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Check in with yourself. It's like, hey, Steve, how are you feeling today? Yeah, I'm pretty good. But sometimes you don't know why you might feel a bit fed up. You know, if you stubbed your toe on the step, you know why you're cross. You know, if somebody's giving you a box of chocolates or an ice cream or something nice and it makes you happy, you know why you're happy. But there are days we feel a bit, meh. Why is that? So just check in. Why am I feeling a bit rubbish? The T is for talking. And this came up earlier on as well in one of the other talks. But speak to someone. Speak to someone that you trust. Don't bottle things up inside. Been there, done that, wasn't fun. Find someone that you can speak to. Doesn't matter whether it's big or small, because the person you're speaking to is not going to judge you. They shouldn't judge you. But try and get another perspective. And this sounds, I'm not telling you anything that's rocket science, but get enough sleep. Our brains work better when we've slept properly. We are better equipped to deal with the things that life throws at us if we've had a good night's sleep. What can you do at work? So here we go, stern. An English word that kind of means looking cross. It's not. It's just a good acronym. Start your day planning out what you want to achieve. This comes from Peter Bregman's 18-minute manager. The link will be in the resources. It's called 18 minutes because at the beginning of the day, you take 5 minutes and you go, what do I want to do today? Don't look at the emails. Don't look at all the things that people have asked of you yet. What do you need to achieve? 1 minute every hour, assuming you work 8 hours, just to check in. Am I doing what I need to do? That's priority. 5 minutes at the end of the day. Did I do the things I needed to do? Did I get railroaded? Is there anything on my list I still need to do tomorrow? If I haven't done it and I don't do it, does it matter? Time. Set aside time in your diary. Do not disturb. And don't let people block it unless they're absolutely, really, really important. Now, if your CEO says, I need an all-company meeting, I think you kind of have to go. but you get the idea. And this is something you can do. Book meetings for 25 or 50 minutes. Outlook, bless its little socks, does 30 or 60 minutes. Now, how many times do you have people saying there's never any gaps between meetings? I need to go to the toilet. I need a coffee. I need something. So book those times, 25 and 50 minutes. Make it your team policy. Try not to let meetings go over those times. Build in the little breaks that you need through the day. It makes such a difference. Do some exercise, chair exercises. Even if you just get up and stretch a little bit, between meetings. If you're sitting in a chair all day, you get cramps. It's not good for you. I think Alex does walking meetings. I'm pretty sure I've seen Alex do that. Don't accept every meeting invite. You don't need to. If 3 of you from your team are going to the same meeting, why do all 3 of you need to go? 1 of you go, 2 report back. And think about, what do you really need to focus on? What is it important that you do today, and what can you leave? And very important is helping other people. So observing other people, being aware of them, looking for those stressful indicators from your colleagues and your co-workers. You know if someone in your team is a bit stressy, if they're quiet, if they're withdrawn, if they're not engaging, if they're a bit snappy when you ask them something. You know these things. Check in with them. You know how to approach them if they're your colleague or your friend, or if they're on your team. But just very gently approach them and say, look, I've just noticed you're not quite yourself. Would you like to have a chat over a coffee? And listen. We're not there. If you're asking someone if they have an issue they'd like to talk about, you're not there to go, I'll fix that. But you're there to listen. You're not there to judge either. But it's important to play back to them so they know that you've heard correctly. You've understood. But ask them, very importantly, what's the outcome? What does good look like? You're not there to offer a solution, because if someone has an issue and you go, I'll tell you what, I'll take that problem from you. You've disenfranchised them. You've taken away the control they don't already have. And you've made it worse. The point is, we get stressed when we lose control of situations. You should be aiming to give that control back to somebody and helping them. And R is a reset button. Think of that big red button. Make that one green. How are you going to reset things? Take a break from the situation. Maybe you can take that person off. Maybe they're worrying about a deadline. But I can't stop work. I've got to do this. Let's take 5 minutes to work out how we could do this together, how maybe I could help you so we can get there. But just taking that little reset will make such a difference. This is a really good quote. There's one flaw in this. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Do not try this with a life support machine, my friends, because that's the flaw. But you get it. So these are the key takeaways. Just do a check-in with yourself. Unless you're obviously happy or unhappy, if you're feeling a bit meh, why is that? Try to pinpoint what it is. How are you doing today? Are you feeling in control? Take those short breaks during the day. Hit that green reset button and look after yourself. Create that 25 or 50-minute meeting policy. Seriously, all of you could go home and do that tomorrow and assess with your teams. Does it make a difference? How is having 10 minutes between meetings helping you? Don't accept every meeting invite. I know it's nice to get an invite. It's so nice to feel wanted. And there's that FOMO. But do 3 of you need to go? Not necessarily. Take control of your day. Plan out what you need to achieve. Eat well, sleep well, talk to others, and listen to others too. And look at that. As if by magic, I get to the end. This is the resources slide. So when the slides will be shared, you'll be able to click through. The 18-minute manager is a good resource. Benefits of stress was from that website. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Let's see the questions. What is the healthiest work model? Home office, company office, or hybrid?
Wow, we're straight in with the hard-hitting questions, aren't we? Someone's going to record me and then play it back to their boss and go, Steve said we need to do this. It very much depends on the company culture. We're having the same kind of discussions about what works best. There is no right or wrong answer. I can't say for any particular person that being at home is right for them because, you know, in lockdown, as an introvert, I loved it. Any other introverts really enjoyed lockdown. So I didn't have to go anywhere, see anyone. It took away a lot of stresses. How many of you are extroverts who absolutely hated the fact that you couldn't go anywhere? There you go. So there's no model that's going to work for everybody. So you have to find the right thing. And maybe hybrid's the way that meets everyone's needs.
I think everybody wanted to hear home office. Oh, I love this one.
Ooh.
Can stress be unconscious, like your body knows, but you don't?
Daniel deserves a stress ball if there's one left. That is an absolutely amazing question. I think so. I think when we get physically ill sometimes, it's our body's way of telling us that we're stressed before we're consciously aware of it. I believe so, yes. I'm not medically trained. Don't take that as medical advice. But I think our bodies do try and warn us when there are problems. So I would say yes. Probably worth doing some research. And actually, if Daniel, you do end up doing some research, share it. I'd be fascinated to know. Yeah, I'd say yes.
What do you suggest if your stress trigger is your direct manager?
A hitman? Oh, that's right. Oh, the mic's still on, sorry. Think before you speak. It depends on what the stresses are. It depends whether it's somebody that's perhaps micromanaging you. It depends why they're doing. I would suggest the conversation is always a good way to try and reset that relationship. So what is it about your direct manager that's stressing you? And I don't know, I can't answer that, but I think trying to find out what it is. You know, you're micromanaged. Are they doing it because they're not getting what they need from you? So if you find out what they need, will they back off and then you don't feel stressed, as an example. So I think actually having communication is going to be the way to solve it, or to try and solve it, but you need to take the initiative because it won't come from your manager. They won't know there's a problem. You have the problem. So go talk to them and be open. One of the best things I ever did with senior managers, and I shared this with a few people, I went and said, look, how honest can I be with you? And both times I said that to very senior managers, they said, be very open. And both times they said to me, thank you for your honesty. Get permission to be open, really open. That person then knows you're going to share something with them. They'll be ready to listen.
Sorry, you ask, how honest can I be? Shouldn't you ask, and will there be any consequences? Because he will say, you can be as honest as you like. But then who knows what happens after that?
Depends how much you trust the person, but that's a very good point.
Okay.
Should I ask the question? You can answer
sorry.
for me.
sorry. How to manage stressful situations that you can't change?
It's a toughie. It depends on the situation. You know, if you can't escape it, I'm trying to think of a situation that's hard to escape from, and it's more going to be like family than job. You know, if there's a job that you don't like, you'll look for another one, but it could take you time to find that other job. I would say talk to people who can give you a perspective on the situation. People who aren't directly invested in it. So people who can take a step back. They're not emotionally involved, and seek their advice. What I would say not to do is to hide it, bottle it, and just try and carry on, because it won't work.
I think we have time for one more. What are you thinking once you found a job too stressful and quit? Does it make sense to go back to the same job / position in a few years' time?
It's a good question. It depends whether the company and the culture has changed. I mean, I'm assuming from that it's the same job in the same company. Are the people the same? Is the culture the same? I would be wary if people said, yeah, it's really different, it's all changed. How quickly can a complete culture change within a few years? So I would view it with caution. Personally, I wouldn't go back to an organisation that I've worked for previously. I believe in moving on. If it's the right thing for you, though, and you're happy that what caused you to leave in the first place has been addressed, and you're happy to try it, then you can. But I would do your research, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Time's up. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Watson.
Thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much.